on Tuesday in a blockade allegedly enforced by security personnel in what she says was politically motivated intimidation.
The suspended Kogi lawmaker, whose suspension by the Senate is being contested in court, parked her vehicle outside the assembly premises and walked through the main Mopo gate in the company of activists including Aisha Yusufu, who led chants against what they described as political persecution. She accused the Senate President Akpabio of personalizing the institution and weaponizing its processes against her. Join us to discuss this development is an activist who was present with the suspended lawmaker at the entrance of the National Assembly, where the entire drama transpired, is Mr. Peter Akah. Mr. Akah, warm welcome to you, and thanks for joining us on Breakfast Central this morning.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Can you kindly walk us through the events of that day and tell us what transpired at the National Assembly gate and why Senator Akpoti-Uduaghan was denied entry?
Okay, let me begin by saying clearly that I'm not a spokesperson for Senator Natasha. In fact, I have never met the woman before this incident. But I'm a concerned Nigerian who is concerned about the weaponizing of our institutions and the brazen level of disregard for the Constitution and the rule of law. So we went there on that day, we know, in solidarity with the senator, and as it was expected, the entire vicinity was completely, almost militarized. The level and the number of law enforcement agents that were, deployed from the entrance. But of course, she came down from her vehicle and then she moved from the first entrance, she moved on to the second, and just the entrance before you get into the complex was completely barricaded, of course, and then security officers were there with arms and tear gas canisters and all of that. Then she made her press statement and she left. But let us not forget why she had to go in the first place. This is, Nigerians are watching unfolding before our eyes. An institution that is supposed to make laws and protect these laws have become an institution that breaks the law. The suspension of Senator Natasha from the onset was a unilateral decision by the Senate President on the day that this incident happened, and that is my particular concern. When they said she refused to change her seat, she kept calling on Order 10 and 11, which are her orders of privileges as a senator, of which the Senate President should have given her audience. But he was on hot mic and he kept saying, put her on suspension, let the sergeant at arms lead her out. That was before it was sent to the committee. So Senator Akpabio had unilaterally decided to suspend the senator who was elected like himself, and then it was sent to a committee to only rubber stamp what the Senate President had decided. And then the court issues and all of that, which I'm sure we are going to get into. But of course, a court had given their directive that she should be recalled, and she went back to resume plenary, following in accordance with the decision of the court.
Mr. Akah, let's talk about the court's decision, Justice Binta Nyako. Part of what Senator Godswill Akpabio's team are saying, and members of the House, what they're saying is that it was not a mandatory ruling, that it was advisory. That yes, she did say that it was not within his purview to have given that suspension that was over time, and she made a lot of criticism about how the matter has been handled. But that she suggested that she be allowed to return to the Senate, and it wasn't a mandatory order.
Miss Olive, what we are talking and discussing today is academic exercise. Nigeria, we will have to decide whether we want to be a country of the rule of law or we want to be a country that is tyrannical and we govern outside the laws. If you read the certified true copy of that judgment, it begins with the heading, Judgment Order. And it starts by saying, it is hereby ordered as follows. So automatically, it is an order. And then if you go to section 318 of the Nigerian Constitution, it states clearly that decisions in relation to a court of competent jurisdiction include any determination of that court, which will include sentences, convictions, judgment orders, including even recommendations. And Section 287, subsection 3 of the Nigerian Constitution says that the judgment of a federal high court, or any other court that is established by the Constitution is enforceable in every part of the country by every authority that is involved. So if you now go down to the nexus of the matter, on paragraph 10, the judge, Peter Akah, her lordship, clearly stated that to suspend the senator for 6 months means suspending the person for 180 days, which is supposed to be the number of days the Constitution provides for them to sit. She says, I find this overreaching, that this is going to contravene Section 63 of the 1999 Constitution, which gives them the days to sit, automatically declaring that that suspension was unconstitutional. Ms. Olive, a determination that has found that what you are doing is in contravention of the Constitution. Is there any other academic exercise, or has law become something that is rocket science? And then in paragraph 11, she said clearly that I believe that you should recall the senator. So automatically the suspension or whatever, and do not forget that Justice Peter Akah is the second judge that this case was assigned to. It was initially assigned to His Lordship Justice Obiora Igwatu. He was petitioned by the same Senate leadership, and then it was now reassigned to Justice Peter Akah after Justice Igwatu had gone through all of the proceedings. And today the Senate is deciding what part of the order to enforce, trying to claim that she is supposed to pay a 5 million fine, which is a fine that is to be paid to the court and not the Senate. You look at the mischief that is across board, and then you wonder what exactly or where is Nigeria headed. In a country of 109 lawmakers, there are only 4 women, and one of them is the one going through this persecution. So whether or not they are deciding to say it is an order, it is not a direct order, it is immaterial. What was given is a judgment order, and the court has ordered and the judge made a decision that this I find overreaching. It ends the procedure and decides that that suspension is unconstitutional. What else are we discussing?
All right. Let's also look at the fact that on that very day, she wasn't allowed entry into the assembly. And there were a lot of talks about too many security men outside positions to ensure that there's no chaos. You were there, you walked in with her, and you were rejected from going in. And we also saw a footage where you were talking to the policemen, the men in uniform. Can you share with us very quickly what the security looked like? And why do you think there was so much police officers designated at the assembly on that day?
It is simple. Because of the weaponization of law enforcement agencies in Nigeria, Nigerian leadership does not prioritize the security of life and property of the people. If not, the number of police officers who were there in that place should be in Benue and Plateau State, protecting communities in Yelewata, in Bokos and Mangu. But when one senator is trying to resume plenary, what is the, what do I call it now, the threat of Senator Natasha to the presidency? Of course, even every lawmaker that is there has their own private personal securities that are inside the complex. But they still felt so insecure enough to bring in truckloads of law enforcement personnel. This was from the entrance, I mean outside the vicinity of the complex. So before you are turning from around that Eagle Square going into the complex, it was already packed with police vans. Not to talk about the ones that were now inside the complex. I was wondering what exactly was going on, but you will now ask yourself, it begs the question why Nigeria will continue to grapple with insecurity. Senator Natasha is not being suspended for criminality. Not because she stole a mace like a senator did in 2018, but somehow was voted in as vice president of the Senate in 2019. Not because she embezzled funds or has issues with the EFCC, because she disobeyed the standing order. And that is why that number of security was there to prevent one Senator Natasha. What is the breakdown of law and order that is more than a day that a senator led talks to take out a mace in the National Assembly? Let us be serious in this country. The National Assembly has no pressing issues. Look at the debt that is piling. You were just talking about the borrowing of President Tinubu. They will rubber stamp it no matter what happens. Natasha is not a priority. She should be allowed to represent her people the same way the Senate President is representing his people.
Now, Peter, Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan has described the blockade as politically motivated and linked directly to the Senate President. You also raised some incidents that happened in the Senate in the past. We've seen suspension of Senator Dino Melaye Senator Ovioma Agege, they went to court and the return wasn't this dramatic. Is this incident reflective of a gender gap in Nigeria's political power circles? Would a male senator have faced similar treatment?
Thank you very much. In the history of Nigerian Senate, none of them has been suspended for a period of up to 6 months. Not even those, the person who led, according to the police, the thugs who went to steal the mace, which is the symbol of authority. We are talking about gender equality. We are talking about 35% affirmative action. In a country, in a Senate of 109 senators, we have just 4 women. And it is very, the silence of the other 3 women are very loud and, audible enough for everybody to hear. So much to women supporting women. But the truth of the matter is that once we continue to keep quiet, this illegality and criminality will only continue. Remember that the same persons who were saying there could be breakdown of law and order, how did the suspension of Senator Natasha also relate to the illegal recall that started in Kogi State and the persons who were behind that recall? So when you see that there is a direct affront, and it is a wake-up call for everybody. There is no society that does not take proper care of its female population that will move forward. Women are critical parts of nation building. And when there is an affront on any one woman who is trying to discharge her duties, it should be an issue of concern. There is a sitting senator in that chamber who is a former governor who was convicted of money laundering and sentenced to a prison. My dear brothers and sisters, was he suspended from the Senate? Was his salaries and allowances also withheld? So the Senate standing orders does not know how to take care of criminals who are convicted amongst them. Only women who are trying to stand up for their rights and speak up for other women. I think it is a shame. It is a travesty. It's an anomaly. And Nigeria should not allow this to continue. The National Assembly should be the symbol of democracy. And if there is any goof or we continue to see this trend, we are moving towards a downward spiral, and it is not sustainable.
Very, very aptly put. But are there any institutional safeguards that should have been put in place to prevent this situation to have escalated? Is there anything that could have been done differently to ensure that we do not achieve, that we shouldn't have gotten to where we are regarding this case between Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan, Senator Akpabio, and the Senate?
Miss Olive, it is unfortunate where Nigeria is currently. Every institution in Nigeria is under attack. Democracy is dying. Do not forget that Senator Natasha made allegations against the Senate President on sexual harassment, abuse of office, and malicious intent to deny her of her legislative privileges. Some persons were asking for evidence of abuse of office. The least that the Senate President could have done, being the number 3 citizen of the country, of which the onus is on you to be held to a higher ethical standard, recourse yourself, allow an independent investigation. If it absolves you of any wrongdoing, good. If it indicts you, then we know that there are codes of ethics. But as we are speaking, even the internal mechanism of addressing issues or complaints by lawmakers was not even given to Senator Natasha. Her allegations have been thrown out of, the committees, and she is now in court. And the so-called, issue of appealing, the Senate President went to make an appeal by himself, and they claimed that it was the National Assembly. Meanwhile, that appeal, it was the Senate President, and the 3 respondents were Senator Natasha, the clerk of the National Assembly, and the Senate. Using taxpayer money on a personal vendetta. If Senator Akpabio has an issue with Senator Natasha, they should be addressed on a personal basis. But weaponizing an entire institution against one woman who is supposed to be representing her people is something that nobody should just close an eye to. So if you talk about institutions, Senator Natasha had petitioned the IG of police. Petitions are all over institutions, but of course, when there is absolute state capture, what institution do you expect to come and speak up? It is we Nigerians who are the ones who will wake up and fix our lives and our institutions.
You also spoke earlier about 35% affirmative action and mentioning the fact that out of 109 lawmakers, we have just 4 that are female and 1 is facing this issue. What were your expectations, or what are your expectations of maybe the other women in the, in the Senate? Do you think that there's anything that they could have done differently from what they are doing now?
Morally and constitutionally, there are a lot that they could have done. Senator Ireti Hiba-Kingibe, the senator representing the FCT, is the chairperson, Senate Committee on Women Affairs. And she's also a member of the Committee on Ethics, which threw out Senator Natasha's petition. But of course, her silence has been very audible. But when it comes to being the reality, because I'm also a realist, as much as I want to protect due process and justice in Nigeria, there is nothing I expect from the others. The other senator is Senator Dr. Mrs. Akpabio Banigo. She's the former deputy governor to Governor Wike in Rivers State. What will you want her to say? The second woman is Dr. Mrs. India Toluronti Adebule. She's the former deputy governor to Governor Ambode of Lagos State. She's an APC stalwart. What do I expect from her? And then we had Senator Hiba Ireti Kingibe. And those are the three then left with Senator Natasha. So when you ask that, what should they have done? We will expect that women should stand, not because we are saying Natasha is right or wrong, but if someone has come out to make allegations, the least you can do is give a fair hearing. Let there be seen that justice was seen to be served. And now with all of the issues and the way the Senate President has gone ahead to handle this issue, can we now completely take out the allegation of abuse of office? Can we take out the allegation of malicious intent to deny her legislative privileges? Remember that Senator Natasha was moved from the Committee of Local Content unilaterally by the Senate President. He took her to Committee on Diaspora and NGO. 2 weeks ago or a week ago, he has removed her as chairman of that committee and made her without a committee. Are there not supposed to be procedures in owning or making up these decisions? Is the Senate President the constituted authority? The Senate President is elected like other senators. Why are we allowing this kind of, brazen misuse of power to continue and unchecked?
It's a borderline between what the law says, what the Senate President is doing, and of course what Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan is also facing. But I'd like us to focus on Nigerians as a whole. You were there, also Aisha Yusufu was there as well, and many Nigerians kept watching to see how it would play out. My concern and my question to you is this. Many have tagged that move that took place a few hours ago, I'd say 24 hours or even more, as an obedient movement. Some have tagged it that way because seeing Aisha Yusufu and seeing others on X who were all screaming, oh, it's a movement, it's obedient, supporting. Did you get any support from the political party that Senator Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan belongs to, which is the PDP? Were there any members there that also joined, or were the PDP completely absent?
Mr. Joe, it was a completely apolitical meeting. I have never been a card-carrying member of any political party. I have never come out to identify myself as an obedient. But it is always the talking points of persons who are sympathetic with the ruling party. Whenever you come out to stand for something that is right and true, they want to neutralize it, water it down, so they give it a partisan coloration. But I want to ask the question, what is wrong with obedience or any other member of any political party standing for justice and equity and fairness? So it is immaterial whether it was political parties or whatever. The important thing is to focus on the crux of the matter, which is an injustice against a woman and the weaponization of an institution. But when you talk about the composition of the persons who were there, I saw nobody who came as a political party members. When we were coming out of the gate, we saw lots of persons who are apparently from Kogi Central, because they kept singing and welcoming the senator in their language, which I do not understand. But you should understand that persons who are from Kogi Central want their representative to be back in office. They are also emotional about the issue, the same way that the people in Akpabio Northwest will also be emotional and sympathetic if their own Senator Akpabio is suspended for this long period of time. So it was not about party. I don't know PDP executive. Even if I see them, I would not know. I don't know Labour Party. They have how many factions. PDP has how many factions. So I would not even know them if I see them. So I did not know if they were even in that place. It was Nigerians who are interested in justice and equity who were there. That is what I represent.
Now, Peter, my final question to you is, what message does this send to young Nigerians watching the halls of power with this drama playing out? And there have been alternative dispute mechanisms like back-channel communication between Senator Akpoti-Uduaghan and the Senate leadership to have prevented this from playing out.
I'm sure that they are going to whatever back channel or ADRs that they are supposed to do, but we should not do ADRs at the expense of upholding constitutionality. The message to Nigerians today is for us, especially young persons, is to know that we are the collateral for a bad and dysfunctional system. Bad governance does not exist in a vacuum. If something can happen or any injustice can happen to high-profile individuals, imagine if tomorrow they come for me, who nobody knows, who they can even, somebody can carry, and tomorrow you hear of forced disappearance and all of that. It is a wake-up call for all of us to rise up and fix our institutions. Nigeria cannot be at the mercy of strong men. Democracy is characterized by strong institutions, independent institutions. The National Assembly must be able to show that it is independent of the executive, the judiciary is independent of the National Assembly. That is how Nigeria can forge ahead. If we continue in this direction we are going, at the end, everybody will become a victim, because these are persons who are supposed to concern themselves with making laws. Look at where we are. Look at what we are discussing. So in the end of it, I want to call on every Nigerian. It is to Natasha. We must wake up and fix our institution for our own self.
All right. I think my final question would be to ask, I know we've said that we hear that she's going to the appellate court to get an interpretation. I know that this matter is far from over, but give us a sense of Senator Natasha Akpoti's disposition. It's been a lot, it's been a journey for her. It feels like it's from one issue to another. How is her spirit? How would you say, she's taking all of this from what you've been able to observe close up?
Senator Natasha is probably one of the strongest women I have met in public office. In all of my movement for electoral reform, the first time I met her was when someone asked me to accompany them to a court in Abuja, and then we also got into her own hearing. And when I went there, incidentally, I did not even know that she could recognize me from the work I do on social media. When you speak with Senator Natasha, at every point she's talking about what she wants to do for her constituents and work that she's currently doing, even under suspension. And that is what you continue to see. So if you want to check or break her spirit, remember that Senator Natasha had political battles. She ran for governor in Kogi State. Remember the election that even brought her. It ended up at the tribunal. The allegations of the former governor overnight before elections taking bulldozers to barricade the road that led to her communities. It has been a fight for Senator Natasha. And it is my prayer that whatever she wants or decides moving forward, that the grace remains with her and the compassion and the love of the people remains in her heart, so that she does not get distracted or, overwhelmed by these issues and begins to lose focus. But from the last time we met her, even when I met her at the National Assembly, because we left them there and all of that, she's in high spirit. She believes that this injustice, as she always says, will not be sustained. And in due course, and then again, she did not appeal the ruling. She is only appealing the part of the fine and the contempt of court. That is what she disagreed with, and not the ruling of her record. Because the 180 days will even end, by the way, by the first week of September, and the Senate is proceeding on recess. So the entire suspension is almost completely spent as we speak.
All right.
All right.
Great
Peter
conversation.
Akah, thank you so much for sharing this with us, and all the best with the work that you do, raising awareness about political conversations.